So we'd spent a few days in Perth meeting up with some suppliers and going down for an industry conference. So I'm actually about 6 days behind, but I've taken notes on each of the days and some thoughts around each of the things that we did. And I've been very intentional of late to wherever I am, that I'm there. So if I'm with the family, then I'm with the family. And if we're away on a holiday, albeit for work or not, then I'm actually there. So so what I did, gosh, where do we start? So anyway, I've taken notes, so I'll still go over it all. We went down on the 25th, which is Anzac Day, and growing up, I've never really been too fond of the dawn service. Not to say no, so it's not right. I've never been too fond of the dawn service. Isn't true. But as I've got older, I've certainly appreciated the importance of the dawn service, and I do believe it's an integral part of being Australian, and for the most part being human and paying respects to those who have gone ahead of us, and for the most part have a big impact on the culture and society we have. We went to the dawn service with the kids, and we're laying in bed tossing up whether we bother with it, because it does mean that we pushed our trip down to Perth back a little bit, and it does mean that we're the kids probably get less sleep in the car and all these sorts of things, and in the end we opted, no, you know what, let's do it. And it's one of those things that we have done with the kids. I think Lex was like 2 when we first did it. We took her down with us, and she did really well. And for the most part, the kids did really good. There's a little walkway that crosses over the bridge, and we stood up on there, so it was a little bit blowy and nothing crazy, but you certainly weren't in the warmth of the crowd. All things considered, I think the kids did really, really well. And just having to explain to them, one of the things I love about being a parent is having to explain to them in really, really simple terms the way that like how things work. And we had to explain to them that there's good people and there's bad people, and bad people make bad choices, and some of these people were genuinely evil. They made really, really evil choices, and where they just wanted to hurt people because they looked different or thought different, or there were things that were different about them. And and it's funny looking at them and seeing their brains tick, and they're like, okay. And and then we're like, and there's these other people, the Anzacs, when we explained, Australia and New Zealand, and they said, we're not going to let you do that anymore. And for them, there's this whole dialogue that unfolds out of that, and it's really, really cool. It's really cool to see them kind of process it, understand it, and so it was really great. So we shot down to Perth, and frick, it was busy. Anzac Day is an absolute pig at the shop, hey? Like, it is madness. So we ordered ahead, and then I took Beck down. I dropped Beck off and did some laps in the car so that the kids wouldn't scream and cry. Jumped in the car, shot down, and again, the kids did so good, man. I'm so proud of my kids. Yeah, they're really great. We stopped at Southern Cross for a play, and and they cut sick. There's a little park, down the back of Southern Cross, and they, there's like a little pump track, and a few different playgrounds and a big footy field, and they just cut sick, so we just let them have at it. And then classic Cunderdin. Man, Cunderdin Park is freaking wicked. It's so, so, so good. They've got everything, hey? So again, we spent probably about an hour there, and and I was on the big swing with Sterling, and he really enjoyed that. It's something about, I don't know if all kids or all humans have this affinity with swings, but man, like all my kids, I love swings. I know Beck doesn't love swings as much, but man, I love swings. I know the kids love swings. Every time we go to a park, Dad, can you push me on the swing? God, I just wish there was a button I could press. They could just... Actually, that's a shit thing to say, isn't it? One thing I always think of is like, when I'm 80, I remember someone saying this, it was some sort of reel or something that I saw on socials, but like when I'm 80 years old and all the memories of my kids being kids are gone, and I get to look back like I would take even the shittest moment just to have that time with them again. And every now and then I catch myself out because I'm like, like, just be present. So, yeah, nonetheless. What I did do, though, this was really fun. The flying foxes. So, because obviously the flying foxes is pretty decent. What I would do is and I started doing this at like all the parks we went to, was that, the kids would be on the flying fox and they'd come down and I'd grab either the chain underneath or the swing, if it's one of the swings, or if it's one of the poles, I'd grab the pole, and then I'd grab this, and then I would just launch it right back up to the top of the flying fox with them sitting on it still. And that way they just kept going up and down on the flying fox. All I had to do was just grab it and then just throw my body behind it and send it back up. And they absolutely loved it. And it was really cool, actually. So we gave Lexi the camera. So we've got, obviously being formerly in photography, I've got I've got a few good cameras, So one of them's a Nikon D3 with a 50mm 1.4 lens. And it's an old body with a very, very nice lens. And so I told Lex how to hold the camera. I told her how to get focus and let her have at it. And it was really cool. Like, here's this kid rolling around with a camera that's literally as big as her head. It's so good. We just told her, hey, listen, don't put it in the sand. Make sure you be really respectful of it. And and she went and she got some wicked photos, So I love those little exercises because it just builds her confidence so much, hey? So, yeah. So that was really cool. It was really nice. I love seeing the world through their lens. She's got this old camera. It's like a 2 megapixel, 1.3 megapixel piece of shit. It's just like it's designed for kids, and it's got games on it of all things. Bloody games. I'm like, ugh. Anyway, so it gets used more as a games console than a camera. But anyway, so it was really cool. She really genuinely loved that camera, like running around with that, which was awesome. I started reading this book called Taxtopia by the Rebel Accountant. Incredibly insightful. I'm already very disenchanted with Australian politics and specifically the tax legislation. And this book, I mean, even as an accountant, he's anonymous. He's kept himself anonymous. This book right here, actually, sorry. That one. Very, very, very critical of accountants. And yeah, it's extraordinary, hey? Like, I already think that the Australian politicians do such a shit job of managing wealth, money, full stop. Not even wealth, just money. And and so I was really pretty disenchanted with it. And then he goes through and he outlines like all these. I'm not an accountant. Okay. I'm not an accountant, but I'm learning a lot more about money and how money works. And big part of that is tax, And, man, I tell you what, it's quite a damning report, if I'm to be honest. He talks about the origin of a lot of these taxes, both, specifically Britain, but he's lived a lot of, he lived for a while in Australia. So then obviously looking at the Australian tax laws and just how, like, one of the things he argues is that, the tax is for like the taxman's like the copper on the road with the radar gun, and he'll fine you if you're going over the limit, but if you're going like 100 k's over the limit, you'll be fine. He'll just let you go. And and you go, no, that's bullshit. And I know, like, my accountant friends are going to be like, no, not true. And he goes, well, here's an example for you. And every country has them. But the one that he uses is in Australia that in the UK, there's what they call. Oh, no. It's not non-dom. It's if you've got investments, if you're a British citizen but you've got investments elsewhere globally, you have to pay 50% tax on that, or 45% tax or something like that on your foreign income. But here's the thing. You can buy like a license of sorts, which is a tax, just like registrations are taxes, fines are taxes, GSTs are taxes, levies are taxes, all these different things, they're all taxes, right? So you can spend £30,000 in the UK, and then your foreign investment isn't taxed at that rate. It's taxed just as normal. So if it's owned by a trust that you own, then the issue that he raises with this, let's just say you've got an apartment that your father was some, I don't know, Moroccan or something, right? And you've got an apartment in Morocco that earns, say, £30,000 a year. You pay £15,000 in tax, or you pay $30,000 for a license, but then you make $0 on it. But if you have $2 million in cash flow from investments overseas, or £2 million, right? You pay $30,000, and guess what? Now you're not losing £900,000 a year, and it's like it definitely favours the wealthy, absolutely, and it's so disenchanting. Like for a long time, I've already been like really disenchanted with Australian politics, and just the spinelessness, and just everyone's out to get them. And the thing is, like, there's this book, Fallen Leaves by Will Durant, one of the best books in my top 10 by far. And he talks about how, like, the relationship between capitalism and communism, is that the right word he uses? Maybe socialism. But maybe social. I think it might be socialist, yeah. And I'm very conscious they're not the same, right? But anyway, he was saying how, like, capitalist countries have to become more socialist. And guess what's happened? Social welfares, because if it's purely capitalist, then everyone's screwed, and you're dialing back to, like, industrial era where you've got kids working in coal mines and that sort of shit, because it's just pure capitalism. And then you've got socialism, and after a while, everyone gets so sick of the state controlling everything that they own that they have to start putting levels of autonomy in place for people to actually have some say on what they do. And so there's always this tussle, and there's kind of this ebb and flow between, socialism and capitalism, and the thing is as well, actually, the point he raises is, if we're talking about capitalism being when someone has control over how capital is deployed, socialism is capitalism as well. I was like, shit, okay, that's good. And still, very, very similar distribution with respect to the wealth and stuff as well. So it's just kind of, someone said to me, the left and the right wing are two wings of the same bird. And I look at all these things, I'm like, it's just the same thing. It's just repackaged and, I guess presented or spun in a way that, one certain group of people resonate with it more than the other. That's all it is. It's just the same shit. And yeah. So anyway, I'm off topic, but he makes some really, really good points in this, and I'm very conscious that there's, for instance, medical system. I'm very, very grateful that the medical system doesn't cost us, like $50,000-$60,000 a year to be able to use, or, I'm very grateful for these things. I am also whatever. I'm going to repeat myself again. I think Australian politicians, maybe politicians in general, or maybe even going a step further than that, maybe people who aren't fit for power. And not saying that all politicians aren't fit for power, but I know that when you don't earn the money and your house isn't on the line, you're very, very frivolous. And I see a lot of frivolity in politics. Anyway, one of the realizations I had when I was driving with Beck was that, like, I've just been flat out the last few days and getting a bit caught up in all my shit again with work and whatever. And I said to her while we're driving down, I was just like, man, like, I realize I am the absolute king of stoicism. Just like, nothing can sway me on holidays. And in a vacuum of all the demands of routine of life and all these sorts of things, man, I am stoic as they get. I am, call me Billy Aurelius, like, yeah. So, yeah, anyway. Got to Perth and unpacked and checked into our Airbnb, and we're like 500 metres from Leighton Beach, which is so good. Unfortunately, we had to kind of go down and around to be able to get to it, but as the crow flies, we're like right there. So we headed down to, we were staying in Freo, so yeah, we headed down to Bathers by the Beach. Really, really, really cool spot. Food was pretty good, drinks were good. There's this bloody rat. The rats were there, man. These rats were like this. They were not small rats. They were proper rats. And the kids were going and playing, and this one rat just kept coming from under the boardwalk, kept like running out near our food, and I was wearing thongs and stuff. And don't get me wrong, like our food was on the deck chairs and stuff, so like the rats couldn't get it and whatever, and kids were playing and stuff. But I had my thong. I grabbed my thong. Rat came over and I just threw my thong at it, and I missed it by about this much. But the rat, like, it was so funny. The rat levitated, literally. It was like a cartoon. It just like jumped in the air and then like scurried back under the boardwalk. And it was pretty funny. But I shit you not, like genuine rats. It's been, I can't tell you the last time I saw a rat, and it was a rat, not like a little rat, big bloody rat. It was so crazy. Anyway, so I had the most beautiful sunset there, and yeah, it was really nice. It was a very nice way to end the day, and yeah, we headed back to our apartment, to our accommodation. Beck stayed. So we kind of strategized the next day, and we're pretty happy about that. Like, obviously, we need to go speak to some suppliers and the guys who are developing our app, go and see them and all that. So it's kind of strategizing the day tomorrow, which is really cool. So yeah, and that was that. Pretty happy with how that went, and yeah.